Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I offer one-on-one angel sessions, soul mentoring in a variety of classes designed to inspire your spirit. And you can learn more at my website, illuminatingsouls.com. So let me begin by thanking you for finding your way to this broadcast. It truly is a blessing to connect with you. And I have a small request. If you are enjoying the podcast, if you would consider sharing it with a friend, or leaving a rating or a review on iTunes or the Apple Podcast app, that would be wonderful. We are growing the podcast through word of mouth, so feel free to spread the joy. Feel free to share the goodness. And again, thank you for being here. I am deeply grateful for this opportunity to share this time with you. So this podcast is inspired by two of my favorite forms of self-care: connecting with the angels, which I do every day, and listening to sleep podcasts, which I do every night. So my daytime and nighttime self-care rituals come together in this unlikely mashup called Sleepy Bedtime Blessings. And each episode begins with 15 to 20 minutes of inspired conversation and time with the angels that helps to bring soothing, healing, and clearing energy to you. And then we go into our story time, where I will perhaps read to you something that's in the public domain, or share with you a story from my life, or wander through the pages of an old publication together. So the podcast lasts about an hour, so that you have plenty of time to drift off to sleep if you are using this as a sleep aid. And if you're using this podcast for your waking hours, I'll get to keep you company as you commute to or from work, or go for a walk, or move about in your life in whatever way is meaningful for you. So I invite you to get comfortable in your body and take some nice deep breaths in and out. And I thought we might talk about forgiveness as we get started here today. And listen, if you have been alive on the planet for more than a few decades, I know that you have worked with the concept of forgiveness before. So this is not meant to be a master class in forgiveness. But I thought I would share with you one of the ways the angels help us with forgiveness, because I really find this to be a lovely invitation from the angels. And I was inspired to dive into this as I'm recording, because I was recognizing this morning that there is something sitting on my heart, something unresolved. And it's not something keeping me up at night. It's not something profoundly dramatic, and the details are not important. They're important to me, but it's nothing I need to share with anyone else. It's just as I explore my own consciousness, I'm aware of this particular pocket of experience that feels uneasy within me still. And one of the ways the angels help with forgiveness is they can help bring waves of divine forgiveness to these experiences, so that forgiveness doesn't just have to be about us self-generating the release of these experiences, but that the angels can help bring healing through all dimensions of time, that whatever is inflamed as a result of these experiences, we can receive an infusion of light to help clear the energy that we do not always need to consciously know what is up for healing, because that becomes an intellectual pursuit. Well, they did this, and then they said that, and then this happened. But what happens when we bring healing light to the entirety of the experience? We might not even know what is up for healing. So I thought during our angel time today, I could ask the angels to help each one of us with this experience. So if you are game, I invite you to just take some breaths in. And again, you don't even have to choose an incident or an experience that is up for healing. The angels know what's in your heart. So I'm going to invite the angels to be with us now. They're already here, but I appreciate the ritual of getting to share them with you. So beautiful angels on high, I ask that you join us here. And I ask that you bring forward waves of love, waves of healing, of understanding, and lightness of spirit in service to each of our beloveds that are hearing this message. And angels, I ask that you help to ease our hearts. But if there's any disturbance, any upset, any unreconciled misunderstandings, misperceptions, anything within us where forgiveness can serve as a healing balm, I ask that you bring this forward for us now. So, dear ones, just take some nice deep breaths in. And just whatever is feeling heavy for you, just allow the light to meet you where you are. And just imagine, if you will, allow it to be so, that this healing light is traveling along the timeline of your life and the timeline of whatever experience or experiences have been challenging for you, whether it is a relationship, a circumstance, whatever it is. Just allow the angels to shine love upon this part of your life, this part of your heart, this part of your consciousness. And take some nice deep breaths in all the way down to your solar plexus. That wherever you are, the light is with you. Whatever has transpired, God is with you. And I affirm that you are a beautiful, resilient, divine being. Just allow for a blanket of forgiveness to flow across the timeline of your life. And just take some nice deep breaths in, coming into your wholeness. That you are a divine being in human form. And there is such love here for you. And as you come into the greater expanse of all that you are, you will find that it is easier to come into acceptance for that which has transpired on the earth plane. Not the kind of acceptance where you just capitulate to it, but the kind of acceptance that allows you to come into a place of ease, of acknowledging what has transpired, but no longer requiring yourself to be beholden to the past. That this is a moment when you get to experience liberation into the true brightness of your spirit, into the wholeness of your beingness. And you don't need to understand all that I am sharing with you right now. Just be in the energy field with me as the angels bring a clearing and healing to you now. I don't know why this is coming up, but it is a dream or a visitation that I had many, many years ago. Perhaps it was somewhere around the year 2000, the year of my awakening, or maybe it happened a little bit before that. I don't quite recall. But in the dream, I was at my parents' house, and the basement of my parents' house was sort of a catch-all for things. It was where we used to go down and play as kids, where we could go down and watch our TV shows. My mom had her sewing machine set up down there, so the basement was somewhere we spent a lot of time. And in the dream, the adult version of me went downstairs and I found the little girl version of me. And she must have been 3 or 4 years old, or maybe a little bit younger. She was young. She was dancing around and she wasn't paying any attention to me. But I had this urgency to stop her and tell her, you get to live a happy life. And so I kept trying to follow her around the room and sort of held her by the arm. And I said, you have to listen to me. You get to live a happy life. And she just kept dancing around like she didn't have a care in the world. And it was this dream that has always stayed with me. It's like the adult me knew that I had to somehow go back and plant these seeds within a younger aspect of me, who in that moment was not unhappy, but that I somehow had to go back and infuse her with this knowingness that no matter what happens, you beautiful little girl, you get to live a happy life. Because there certainly were times that it didn't feel that way. But I feel like that was a sacred moment because I can still feel it so clearly and see it in my mind's eye. And that phrase, you get to live a happy life. And so when we talk about sending healing light, forgiveness across the timeline of your life, it doesn't necessarily mean that the present day you has to muster up the healing and the forgiveness for the past. We can go plant seeds of love and support and healing and forgiveness across the timeline of your life so that the you that you are today or 3 months from now or a year from now might experience a state of grace or find more ease is available in moving some of the gears of consciousness that have had you experiencing a narrative that you no longer wish to embody. So just as I said to my little inner child in the dream, you get to live a happy life, I say the same for you. I affirm, I pray this for you. That whatever is transpiring in your life, that there is happiness flowing to you, whether it arrives today or a month from now, that we are seeding molecules of happiness and inspiration and love on your path, past, present, and future. So just take a big, deep breath in. You get to live a happy life. It might not be the life you thought you would live, but I affirm that you are a beautiful, divine, resilient being, and that light is flowing to you now. That goodness is flowing to you now. And that happiness is flowing to you now. And to just come into that as truth. Just like even if you're in the midst of winter, you know there are bright sunny days in your future. There is an ebb and flow to life. And this might not sound like a profoundly romantic affirmation, but it is one that comforts me on days when I am challenged. And it is this: life has a way of working out. Right? That might not sound like profound wisdom, but it comforts me. Life has a way of working out. Things work out. We figure stuff out. We heal. We come into our wholeness. We grow. Cool stuff happens. We are evolving on our timeline of life. And I feel such brightness and goodness flowing in for you right now. The light is bright where you are. So take some nice deep breaths in. Again, just throwing just a blanket of forgiveness across time and space for the known and the unknown, for the seen and the unseen. It's like, all right, God, go ahead and roto-rooter out any of the judgments or unresolved material that I am holding on to that I need not embody. And I just realized as I was bringing that forward, there were sirens in the background. I don't know if you'll be able to hear them, but I affirm that's the angelic emergency response team, helping to clear out that which you need not carry. Oh, just take a deep breath in, whether it's something that you don't even remember that happened when you were 7 years old, or whether it's something you're carrying now. Just let the light come in and wash you clean. Think of this like an energetic car wash. That you have permission to live a happy life. You get to live a happy life, whatever that means. Happiness doesn't have to necessarily be these big, bright expressions of perfection that we are trained to see on social media. It can be the happiness of finding your favorite variety of apple is in stock. It can be the happiness of snuggling with your dog or cat or baby. It can be the happiness of watching the most beautiful television program. I share that because my husband and I are in the midst of watching one of the most beautiful television programs I have ever seen. It's called Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. It's on Netflix and it's a Korean drama. And the amount of happiness and love and hope this is bringing into my heart, and Wes's too, is such a gift. So happiness doesn't have to be a long sustained note. It can be moments of brightness. So take another deep breath in and release. Wow, there's some big, beautiful energy flowing through for you here. So take your time metabolizing it. You don't have to know what's happening. You don't have to understand it. Just know that a lot is being lifted and cleared. I affirm this to be true. So you go ahead and get comfortable. You can cozy on up and snuggle on in. The angels will continue bringing you blessings of love. And while you rest, I'm going to ramble through some stories for you. And for story time, I'm inspired to begin by talking about something that came up in the last episode when I was going through the pages of an old TV guide with you. And it's something that I had remembered, but I hadn't thought about in a long time. And it was that when I was younger and had to go to grammar school and high school, that I hated going to school. I hated it. I didn't want to be there. And something that I have learned about myself, through the 6 decades of being Laurel, is that I really resist being places I don't want to be. Some people can suck it up. I really can't. I never have been able to. And so pretty early on in life, I learned that if I manifested being sick, I didn't have to go to school. And I seem to recall, this may have been when I was about 5 or 6. It was perhaps one of the first times I was legitimately sick and had to stay home from school. And when my father came home from work, he brought me a doll. So I got a present. I got to stay home on the couch. My mom made me whatever she made, whether it was toast or soup. I don't know what it was. Probably one of the only times in my life I don't know what food I had. And I got covered by the Afghan, and I didn't have to share my mom with my brother or sister. And then I got a present. I mean, I think right then I kind of got that this was a good gig. And I had a hard time in school up until my second year of college because I didn't want to be there. You know, I was a different kind of kid because of my weight and my hair. And you know, kids, you know, if there's the littlest thing different about us, that gets called out. And now that I understand how my energy flows and serving as an empath and all of that, I get this on a much deeper level. And something else to know about me is I am not one for hard work. It sounds so terrible, but the truth is I just inherently I'm not one to work hard unless I want to. This is the key for me. And if any of you are of the sun sign Taurus, you might completely understand what I'm talking about. It's interesting because the symbol for the Taurus is the bull. And when I think of bulls, I think, well, they go where they want to go. You know, stubborn as a bull. It's like, I'm not going to go where I don't want to go. Not my idea. Not going to do it. And so I found school to be difficult because of the social constructs. And I wasn't interested in studying the things I didn't care about. I mean, if school could just be about reading books and the things that I enjoyed, that would have been awesome. But I didn't care about math or science or learning French. Now I wish I had learned French, of course, but back then I didn't care. And so throughout my school years, I would often stay homesick from school. And I kind of manifested these stomach aches. And I didn't necessarily, now that I remember, I don't know that I had this physical pain, but I didn't have any other language for it. So I think it would be anxiety, right? Some anxiety, some difficulty. And so when I was reading through the TV guide from 1979, that would have been my senior year. Actually, it would be my senior year in high school. And I spent a lot of time homesick. I was actually on home study for 6 weeks, I think, because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me because nothing was, physically anyways. And I had this big pink fuzzy robe, and I just have this vision of staying home in that pink robe for like 6 weeks and watching television. And I think my brother would have perhaps been in school by then, my sister would have, and both of my parents would have been working. So I had the house all to myself. And I could eat what I wanted, and I could watch television. And that was so much better than having to go to high school. High school was torture. Who wanted to be there? And I don't mean to make this sound super dark because that's not how it lives in me anymore. But I thought I would bring this forward for any of you that felt that you had difficulty being in places where you didn't want to be. And it's interesting because that is absolutely true for me today. Only today I call it self-care. Now I'm an adult and I do this beautiful work for a living, so it is important that I take care of my instrument. And part of that is not being places that I don't want to be. So I only do what I want to do, which is such a blessing, right? I get to be here under the blanket fort with you. I get to hang out on my couch and watch Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha with my husband. And it is such a luxury. So I just wanted to send some healing light to any aspects of you that perhaps are having to spend time in places you do not want to be. And that perhaps for at least an hour for each podcast episode, I can help to cultivate a space for you that reflects a place you want to be, because you are worthy of that. And so here's to all the hours of television that kept me company when I was homesick from school. I loved my sick days. They made me so happy. And I hated when I had to go back to school. And I didn't actually love school until my sophomore year in college, when I transferred to Columbia College. I share a bit more about that in the episode about New Year's Eve memories. And ever since I've been an adult and can choose what I want to study, I love being a student, because I'm only going to take classes in what I want to learn. So it's interesting how I never have sick days anymore, ever. I never call in sick to work because I love what I do. I show up no matter what. It's so interesting how life changes when life provides you with opportunities to opt in to what you love, rather than having to suck it up for things you don't want. So, my loves, let's just affirm that the experiences you desire, that which you love is flowing to you now. That your life is manifesting in a way that it is a life you are joyful to show up for. In relationship, in work, in play, in everything. So I'm so grateful that way back when I had those coping skills that were wise enough to help me manifest in a way that I could opt out when I needed to, and that I could keep my spirit intact so that when life opened up, I could thrive. And it's allowed me to be here with you now. And I hope it's okay that I'm sharing all of this. I don't know that this is much of a story time right now. I don't know how snoozy or sleepy this is. But I share it with you because I sense perhaps something in this conversation will be supportive for you. It's always interesting to me because in adult life, we often focus on our ability to meet our responsibilities, right? So if I'm trying to understand why I'm being so lazy, I haven't cleaned the house and I haven't exercised. Well, I don't know about you, but those typically represent things I don't want to do, but I should do. I have to do. Like showing up for high school. I don't want to. I don't want to clean my house. I just want a clean house. Right? And so if you're in this deadlock of feeling judgmental about yourself because you aren't somehow doing what you are supposed to do or what you think you should do. Shift it up a little. Give yourself time to engage with the things that you want to show up for. You know, the me that I am now is the same me that opted out of high school. I want to do what I want to do. If I'm here on planet Earth, I want to be able to engage in the things that I enjoy and that I love. And so, if there's anywhere in your life that you are judging yourself as non-productive or lazy because you aren't doing what you think you should do, give yourself a day off. Go have an adventure. My husband and I just did this yesterday. It was interesting. I have 2 girlfriends that I meet with on Tuesdays, and we support each other. And we were contemplating the concept of wildness. Like, what is it to live life in our wildness? And it can mean a lot of different things, right? But it sparked something in me. And I was like, what is wildness in me now? And I've been puttering around with some genealogy. I love genealogy, and I go into binging on genealogy, and then I don't go near it for a year. It's just, I work on it in bursts. And I had just gotten into a burst with genealogy. And there was some information I wanted to see if I could get, but I had to go to one of the family research libraries that the LDS Church has. And there's different centers that you can go to, and one of the main ones in our area is in Oakland, which is about 30 minutes away from us. And I thought the next day, which was yesterday, I had a free day work-wise. I mean, I can always find the work to do. I'm self-employed, but I didn't have any appointments would be the way to say it. And I thought, you know what? It was going to be a beautiful day. And I was going to go have a play day. I was going to go to the Oakland Family Research Library, and I was going to look for the pieces of information I wanted to find for our genealogy. And then maybe I would go to Berkeley Bowl, which is one of my favorite supermarkets. And I thought, well, if I'm going to have this kind of day, I should invite Wes to go with me because he works hard. He has a traditional job and he works Mondays through Fridays. So I called him up and I said, do you have a busy day tomorrow? He says, I don't know. Why? I said, what if you took tomorrow off? And we went to the Mormon library and we researched our family trees. Now, I know to you that might not sound exciting, but it made me really happy, right? I wanted to do that versus I could have spent yesterday cleaning our house or decluttering my office, but none of my life force was excited about that possibility. But driving to Oakland to the LDS library and then shopping for food, I was all in. I was like, this is an awesome day. So as it turns out, Wes was able to take the day off. And we were so excited. We were going to go have our adventure. Like, an adventure doesn't have to be a big thing. An adventure can be whatever you want it to be. So we did. We went to the Mormon church, the library, the LDS center there. And I don't know if you know this, if you've never done genealogy, But the Mormon library has created a profound repository of all kinds of genealogical records. And in many cities and towns around the world, there are these family history centers. And anyone can go in. You don't have to be Mormon. Anyone can go in and sit down at their computers and start pulling up this information. It's a very generous model, which I am greatly appreciative of. So we went, and Wes and I sat down together, and I found several of the pieces of information I had been seeking. And for any of you who are interested, what I was looking for were death certificates for 2 great aunts who had died relatively young. So they would have been my grandfather's sisters. And one died, I think, in 1895 and the other in 1905. And they were both relatively young. And the thing about these vital records, like birth certificates and marriage licenses and death certificates, is they contain a lot of information. Often they contain the names of parents or how they passed away. And for me, it feels like it is sacred to remember someone who lived a long time ago, but somehow is a part of our family line. And so I was able to pull up information on them and information on some other people in our tree. And every time we found something, Wes and I were just like, we were so happy. We're like, yay, we found it. And so we were there, I don't know, about an hour and a half. And at some point I get overwhelmed. It's too much and I'm not fresh enough to keep looking. And then Wes and I went to Berkeley and we visited Moe's Books, which is a wonderful bookstore. They have both new and used books. And I found a little booklet that contains recipes that I absolutely will share with you in a future podcast episode. And then we went next door and got a couple slices of pizza. That there's a couple of pizza places in Berkeley that they only sell one kind of pizza each day, and they're really cool. The one that we had yesterday had Yukon potatoes, feta cheese, cilantro, corn, and lime on it. Citrus, right? Citrus on a pizza. It actually is so delicious. And when you buy a slice, they give you an extra sliver. Okay, delights the foodie in me. You mean I get a piece and I get a smidgen extra? Count me in. So Wes and I got our pizza. And I think at that point it was 1:00 and we decided to drive home. And we just had the loveliest day. And this is what I mean about having to show up for things we don't want to do versus having the life force for the things that delight us. I so often talk to people who are judging themselves as lazy because they're not showing up for the very adult, unfun things that they feel that they have to do. And I say to them, my dear, your life force is intact. It just doesn't want to do those things. What does it want to do? Right? It was like the me staying homesick from school. I was doing what I wanted to do. I want to watch TV and I want to eat. I don't want to go to school. So I'm going to do what I want to do because I have to for my mental health. I'm going to just hang out here away from the throngs of humanity. I don't want to have to go and be with hundreds of other teenagers who I do not enjoy, who are having conversations I don't care about. I want to be home. And so I don't know why somehow this all weaves together, right? It's what do you want to do? What do you want to do tomorrow or the weekend? What would delight you? And staying home and watching television or reading a book is a valid response. In adult life, you often have to be in situations and with people who do not enrich you. So, enrich yourself. Engage in ways that delight you. And so I loved that Wes and I got to have our mini adventure, which may not sound like an adventure to you, but the important thing is it was an adventure for us. And your adventure may not sound at all appealing to me, but that doesn't matter because it's what you enjoy. It's what delights you. And so today I'm going to gift myself another beautiful day of adventure because as I record this, it is early morning. It's just after 7 a.m. and the world is just getting ready to wake up. And I'm going to do some work that I want to do. I don't have to do. I want to do. I have a new class that I'm going to be writing up so I can send it out into the world. I'm going to do a few audiograms for this podcast, which I get excited to do. And an audiogram is when you see a post on social media that has a graphic and then it has the animated wavy lines that go with the voice. That's called an audiogram, just as a little bit of insider information. And I'm going to make some up for the last episode. And then I'm going to go run errands. But I love running errands, just so you know. I know some people do not like to go grocery shopping. I love it. I so enjoy getting to run my errands, especially when the weather is beautiful. So today, my beautiful adventure day will most certainly include a trip to Trader Joe's, my favorite friend, who sometimes disappoints me when they discontinue items. And I will go to Sam's Club, which I know does not sound exciting to hardly anyone, but there are a few things they carry that I need. And I'm also going to go to a store called Raley's, which is one of our supermarkets. And they happen to have the best sourdough bread. And I'm going to get a loaf for Wes and I because we get so happy about bread and butter. And I'm going to hit up a couple other markets that I need to go to. I am one of those people who goes to like 4 or 5 stores because not one store has everything that I want. And I know some people can't stand that kind of shopping, but I actually enjoy it because then I get everything I want. Right? So I'll go to Raley's for their specific kind of bread that I love, rather than getting a loaf of substandard bread that is not up to the quality that we enjoy. So that's one of my adventure days. On my days that I do my grocery shopping, I get so happy and I'm so grateful I can go grocery shopping, that I have the physical energy for it, that I have the financial ability to do it. I recognize that both of those things are a privilege. And then later today, Wes and I are going to watch the final episode of Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. I know I have mentioned that a few times in this episode. I cannot express to you what a beautiful program this is. If you have a Netflix subscription, for sure in the US and perhaps in other countries as well, you might be aware of all the Korean dramas they have. And the Squid Game was never going to be my thing. But a few months ago, Wes and I watched Extraordinary Attorney Woo. And it was wonderful. And I'm not a big fan of subtitles. I typically crochet while I'm watching television, and I can't really crochet and read subtitles consistently. So they had an English dubbed version of it. That the dubbing was terrific. The actors who do the dubbing for Extraordinary Attorney Woo were wonderful. And we really enjoyed that show. And I don't know how we came across Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. I was bored last weekend, I think, and was going to see if I could find another show for us to watch. I didn't know anything about the show. And we started watching it, and we were enchanted. It's a story about a big city dentist who loses her job, and she goes to this small seaside town that she visited as a child. And there's, some mishaps, and she winds up deciding to move there and open a practice. And she meets this very enigmatic man, and he's like the good guy, the handyman, the MacGyver. He can do a little bit of everything of this town. And all of the other residents of this town, each one is, a little bit off kilter. And the series is 16 episodes long, and each episode is an hour and 15 minutes. And the music is exquisite. And if you're going to watch the dubbed version of it in English, the actors that they hired to dub the dialogue do a phenomenal job. And honestly, it is up in like one of my top 10 shows I've ever seen. It is so beautiful and heartwarming and sweet and gentle and funny. And just a feast for the senses. If you're looking for something that will just delight you, I highly recommend it. And it has an amazing title, right? Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. And so that's going to be my day today. I get to have a day of doing what I love, including getting to be here with you. So if you find that you don't have a lot of energy for life right now, first of all, I understand there's a lot happening in the world, but also perhaps contemplate maybe there are some things that you have energy for, but you're not necessarily allowing yourself the time to be with them because you think you need to do other things. And so, my friends, I hope that you have the resources to bring something into your life this week that you love. Whether it's a wonderful television show or snuggles with your pets or a talk on the phone with one of your favorite people or curling up for a nap as the angels and I lull you to sleep. To make sure you make space to participate in things and in ways that fulfill you. It's one of the ways that we refill our batteries. And so this was an extra rambly story time. I didn't know we were going to do this. But I guess this is where we were supposed to go. So if there's anywhere you're opting out on purpose, don't judge yourself for it. Instead, pivot. and connect with what it is that is calling to you. And may the light find you in ways that delight your heart. Thank you for letting me share from my heart to yours in this episode. I know I kind of rambled a lot, but remember, this is a sleep podcast. This is meant to be a comforting, soothing place where you can drift off. So I so appreciate this time with you. You are a blessing in my life, even if we have yet to meet. And so I'm sending you waves of love. I'm seeding your path with joy and happiness and prayers for goodness. So you have the sweetest of dreams, and we'll talk again soon. I love you. Thank you.